Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello and welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. I'm Lauren Bolander with Captain Rick Murphy, and tonight it's all about bonefish, Rick.
Man, it is about bonefish, and I love that.
You know, we also have a special guest in the studio tonight. We're going to learn all about the latest and greatest Silverado. You're interested.
Oh, very much so. So is Dave.
Yeah, so is Dave. That's what I was going to say. And
I'm over here choking to death. I want one so bad.
Dave Farrell came back to us. He's back at his home at the Jägermeister Workbench.
Yes, at the Jaeger Workbench. It's very nice to be back. I'm choked up. I really am.
You don't have to cry, Dave. It's all right.
But you know, Lauren, every week we talk about the theme species, and this week the theme species is bonefish, one of my favorite things to pursue. Now, this is Tate. He caught this bonefish. It's his first bonefish caught just across the pond over in Chub Key. Another guy, great picture, first bonefish on fly, Joe Niebuhr, the owner of Contender Boats. That's so cool. A guy builds offshore boats but loves to inshore fish as well. And then Ridge Murphy's first bonefish on fly. So we got 3 first, and congratulations, guys, and hope that you catch a lot of bonefish in the future.
Very cool. You know, we're going to start the night off in a spot where bonefish are pretty popular. That's the La Jolla, Florida Keys, and Captain Randy Tao is there to tell us all about it. What you got, Randy?
Hey, fish fans, good evening. You know, bonefish, they're probably the most popular fish we have in the Keys region, from Ocean Reef all the way to Key West, both on the ocean side and the bay. Now, it doesn't cost a lot to pay attention, so I want you to listen. I'm going to tell you some secrets about how to catch these things, because it's all conditions. It's the wind, the tide, the flat, the water level. All these things make a difference on the bonefish when you're looking for them. There's really no such thing as the secret spot or a spot that's going to have them every time, because the conditions play the factor of whether these things are going to cooperate or not. Now, if you're going to fish on the ocean side, it's a little different because you're going to be fishing shorelines. They hold a lot of fish sometimes. Now, also you've got flats as well. When the tide's coming in and the water gets high up on top of these flats, these fish are going to start mudding in the deeper water. So you're going to want to look for that discolored water. If it's real clean, you don't see any sharks, you don't see any rays, you're probably not in the right spot. You want to move over, or you want to go to the next flat. So these are the little tips and conditions you got to look for to catch these bonefish. There's young guys right now, Jared Roscobb, Richard Black, Donnie Benbow. These young guys right now are coming up very young. They're dialed into the bonefish. They understand the conditions. They're catching them very consistently from Key Largo to the middle and lower Keys, and they're doing it based on finding the condition, whether it's the tide or the current, and they're very successful doing this. They're throwing small blue crabs, they're throwing shrimp at times, and also they're throwing a fly rod. They're throwing a crab pattern fly to these fish, especially when they're mudding. The more water a bonefish has over its head, as you know, Rick, it's going to be easier to catch than one with his back out tailing.
No doubt, Randy. All right, what else do you have for me inshore this week, bud?
You know, let's talk about the snook, because snook season opened up this week, and I know everybody was talking about, I'm going to go get a snook for dinner, and there's so many snook. And, you know, there really wasn't a very good snook bite, although we did have better snook fishing prior to opening day. But the consensus from the guys that I talked to said that they went to their favorite spot, and they either caught one that was too big or too small. So that slot limit really plays a big part in protecting these fish. And I can tell you, because of that size limit, a lot of these snook were not caught over the opening last few days. But the snook fishing on the incoming tide around Flamingo, live pinfish on a 3/8-ounce hookup has been good. Also, a lot of the shorelines to the west. And the incoming tide certainly has been the better condition to find these snook along the beaches and the shorelines.
All right, well, let's go ahead and go offshore.
Blackfin tuna. You know, we've been talking about it. I said earlier, a few weeks ago, we didn't have any tunas. All of a sudden, they showed up, and they have not left us. They've been cooperating. They've been nice size. And anybody that wants to catch one of these tunas, they can go out there, troll some dark feathers. I like fishing 2 rods at a time so you don't get tangled up. And you can troll around and catch some nice dinner-sized tunas. If you want to go through the extra effort of catching live bait like pilchards, you can certainly go out there and chum and target some of the bigger fish. All of the offshore humps right now have been holding really nice fish. I've heard of some fish up to 25 pounds. The sharks have not been too big of a problem, which is a plus, because normally when the tuna show up on these humps, so do the sharks. But it's been very few sharks out there, and guys are doing extremely well consistently day in, day out on the blackfin tunas. The yellowtail fishing on the edge of the reef, still extremely good, and I can tell you it's so good, Stevie Wonder could go catch a yellowtail right now because they are very cooperative. The conditions are right. You got a good current, and it doesn't take a lot of heavy chumming right now because there's a nice body of fish on the reef. So a lot of the guys, if they put in a couple hours, you're going to catch your limit, and some of these fish are pretty nice size.
All right, great job, Randy, from the La Jolla, Florida Keys region. I'm going to go ahead and get to the hot spots from the Florida Keys. Captain Randy says inshore, we're going to go ahead and get a bonefish, fish the incoming tide on the ocean side. As the tide gets higher, looking for the off-colored water. Where the fish are mudding, throw quarter-sized crabs on the light to medium spinning rod, and then offshore yellowtail snappers anchor in 50 to 70 feet of water. Use plenty of chum, drift back small pieces of cut bait on a 16th-ounce jig head, chartreuse jig head with a piece of cut bait.
I had no idea Stevie Wonder was an angler. Very cool. Okay, now let's take a look and see what tournaments are going on around the Keys. First, it's the Take Stock in Backcountry Challenge, scheduled for September 27th to the 29th in Key Largo, which targets trout, snook, and redfish. Anglers have the opportunity to fish continuously from the conclusion of the captain's meeting to 2 hours prior to the awards banquet. Next, the Women's Fall Fly Classic, set for October 1st through the 3rd in Islamorada. It's an all-release fly tournament. Species targeted are bonefish, redfish, snook, and tarpon. Also, the Robert James Sales Baybone Celebrity Tournament, scheduled for October 11th through the 13th in Key Largo, is the second of 3 Keys tournaments that fundraises for cystic fibrosis research and treatment. The Baybone targets permit and bonefish. And finally, the Islamorada All-Tackle Bonefish and Permit Championship, set for October 13th through the 16th. It features prizes for the most releases in bait, artificial, and fly divisions, as well as for the largest bonefish and permit. Lots of good stuff there. Right now, Andy Newman has some more to tell you about from the Florida Keys. Andy?
All right, Lauren, and bonefish is one of the species at the Herman Lucerne Memorial Backcountry Fishing Championship. It's set for Friday through Sunday, September 20th to the 22nd in Islamorada. Now, Mr. Lucerne spent nearly 40 years exploring the backcountry. It earned him the affectionate label of Mr. Everglades. The tournament in his name distinguishes the overall grand champion as the individual angler who catches at least 4 of the 7 eligible species, and that includes black drum, bonefish, redfish, snook, tarpon, and sea trout. And more details on the Lucerne tournament and many other events and tournaments in the Keys, it's at flakeys.com. Now, Rick and Lauren, we're going to leave you with a peek at a fascinating yet very fragile annual reproductive phenomenon on the coral reefs in the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. And let's roll the videotape, because this is coral spawning that occurred early last week off Key Largo. Millions of reproductive cells are released underwater, and a synchronized mass spawning exchange that enables the eggs and sperms to enter the water over a broad area to maximize the chances of fertilization and create new coral reefs. Rick and Lauren, you have now seen Sex on the Reef.
I love it. Great job, Andy. I love those little pieces by Andy. You know, it's really cool.
stuff.
Turtles,
Stuff we
and now we
wouldn't get
got
to see
Sex
normally.
on the Reef. It's cool.
Sex on the Reef.
Speaking of
I think
Sex
that's
on
a
the
drink.
Reef, I
I'm
think our
pretty
next
sure it
captain
is.
knows about that.
Yeah, that's right. Not too far north from Sex on the Reef is Captain Jimbo Thomas in the southeast region. Jimbo, it sounds like bone fishing is pretty great around you.
Yeah, it is good, and I haven't had that much sex on the reef, so we'll stick to fishing. Yeah, we do have some fantastic bone fishing here in the southeast region. If you get north of Government Cut, bonefish are pretty much an incidental catch, but as you get further to the south, the inside and outside flats from Government Cut, South Angelfish Creek, and Biscayne Bay offer some of the best bone fishing in the world. And with this flat, calm weather that we've had in the last week, the oceanside flats from Sands Cut south to Angelfish Creek have been active with tailing bonefish first thing in the morning before the water gets too hot. And then as the water starts to warm, the fish have been moving to deeper, cooler waters, and then you want to fish along the edges of the channels and the flats. Then the inside flats from Caesars Creek south to Broad Creek have also been holding schools of bonefish. Those schools of bonefish, they've been mudding more than tailing, and you want to just look for that dark water, the muddy water, and they've been on top and along the edges of the flats. Now, the best flats to fish are the ones that have good water moving over them, and you'll follow that mud trail right up to that school of fish. Live crabs and shrimp are the most common baits for bonefish, along with pink or brown skimmer jigs, 8 to 12-pound spin tackle, 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, and a 2-0 hook. That's your basic bonefish setup. Or if you're into fly fishing, 8 to 9 weight fly rods and crab pattern flies. Now, the average size fish down in South Biscayne Bay is around 6 to 8 pounds, but fish up to and over 13 pounds are not uncommon at all.
All right, Jimbo, before we go any further on your inshore report, let's take a look at the navionics from your region. Now, guys, the area that Jimbo picked for us to look at is just north of the Ragged Keys, south of north of the Ragged Keys and south of Soldiers Key. Now, as you heard Jimbo talk about, he talked about current. Now, understand that as the tide comes in with the east wind, the flow of water is going to come in like so. And as it does, the bonefish are going to climb up. So let's take a zoomed in look at the navionics here. Now, what this means to me, guys, is as the tide comes in, what you're going to end up finding is these fish are going to come out of the channels, and as they come out of the channels, they're going to run up on all these little places because the tide is going to be flowing across the flat. Remember that. Look for those muds, and as the tide gets higher, you're going to want to move up higher on the shallower parts of the flats as the tide is going up from low water to high water. All right, Jimbo, what else you got for us inshore?
Okay, well, we got snook. You know, snook season did open up on September 1st, and there's still been plenty of snook around. There's been schools of snook in all of the inlets, and they're being caught on live pilchards, herrings, and mullet, or pretty much any other good live bait. And you want to drift your live bait near the bottom in the evenings. Tide hasn't been much of a factor. They've been biting both incoming and outgoing. And then all of the bridges of the Intercoastal Waterway, they're holding snook, and they're being caught on live bait and also artificial baits. And you want to fish along the shadow lines, and the outgoing tide has seemed to be the best for the snook along the bridges. And then along the beaches from Lake Worth Inlet south to Government Cut, the snook have been running in the trough just off the beach, and they've been chasing schools of bait, mostly live pilchards and sardines. And you want to use any artificial, if you don't have those live baits, use artificials that are going to imitate those baits. Now, the best time to target these beach snook has been early in the morning and late in the afternoon, either by boat or by foot. Now, offshore, we're still finding dolphin on a daily basis, and the nice thing, we haven't had to go very far out to find them. There's been schools of 3 to 5 pound dolphin around scattered weed lines and floating debris in anywhere from 300 to 900 feet of water. Now, there's been some birds working over these fish, but most of them are just cruising down these weed lines. We're getting up in the tuna tower and spotting them, and when it's been really calm, like what we've witnessed the last few days, we've even been seeing wakes being pushed by these fish as they're swimming up on the surface. Now, there's been a ton of bait around all this grass that we've been fishing and finding these fish around, so those dolphin have been really full of food, and so they've been a little finicky. So what we've been doing is pulling up to the first patch of grass or floating debris that we see in the morning, drop our sabikis down, and we're catching a bunch of these baits. It's been mostly small blue runners, and that's what we've been using for bait. We've been matching the hatch. There's also been some dolphin caught on small feathers and lures that we've been trolling along those weed lines as well. And there haven't been that many big fish that like what we were seeing a couple weeks ago, at least not for us. But you never know when some nicer ones are going to show up, so always be ready. Now, also, there's been quite a few swordfish caught in the last week, and it's not that they're biting any better than usual. It's just that the weather's been so nice, a lot of people have been able to get out there to target them. I've heard reports of swords up to 300 pounds being caught throughout the region, both in the daytime and nighttime. In the daytime, the fish are being caught near the bottom in 1,500 to 2,000 feet of water on squid and bonita strips. And when you're out there in the daytime, it's always a good idea to put a couple of live baits or rig baits out on the surface because you're out in dolphin area, and any dolphin that comes by, you're going to catch those. And then at night, the swords, they're coming up towards the surface to feed, and you don't have to drop all the way to the bottom. We're still out in that 1,400 to 18 feet of water, and they're eating rig squid, live blue runners, and speedos. And in the daytime, we only fish one rod, but at night we can put a spread of baits out. What we want to do is stagger our baits at different depths, anywhere from the surface on down to 400 or 500 feet.
All right, great report, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and get to the sports grill hotspots from the southeast region. Captain Jimbo says inshore, walk the beaches early in the morning and look for the snook swimming the troughs. Fish them with live baits or blue and silver swim baits. And then offshore, sabiki up some small live baits around the grass patches offshore and feed them to the dolphin that are working the weed lines, Lauren.
Okay, everyone, stay with us. On the other side of the break, we're going to head to the southwest with the Midnight Rider, and we're going to find out what Dave has up his sleeve for Off the Deep End. We've got a lot more coming up right here on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Lottery, Yeti Coolers, wildly stronger, keep ice longer, best parts, best prices, Bennett Auto Supply, Captain Harry's Fishing Supply Company, Chevy, the IGFA, Conservation Through Education, Get Your Hands Wet, and Olukai.
He's a 20 years straight, get to work on time. He's loved one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
It's 200 streamlined horsepower of Yamaha forward thinking. The all-new F200 inline four-stroke. Whether you're an offshore angler, pontoon cruiser, bay boater, or walleye hunter, the responsive and fuel-efficient F200 combines amazing power and versatility in one incredibly compact and lightweight package. The all-new F200. Legendary Yamaha reliability and the freedom of forward thinking.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has masterfully captured the wonder of marine wildlife in his artwork. Now he's sharing his inspiration with the Florida Lottery by creating 12 exclusive images for the Collector Series Guy Harvey Scratch-Off game, featuring a top prize of $50,000 and a second chance opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate the beauty and riches of Florida with Guy Harvey Scratch-Off games today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
When the Spanish explorers discovered Isla Morada, they called it Purple Isles. Today, they'd discover such a rich palette of diversions and delicacies, they'd definitely be at a loss for words. Isla Morada in the Florida Keys.
Now it's time for the news and notes from the FWC. September 5th and 6th, the FWC Commission meeting is in Pensacola. September 6th, Adult Hunt Master Training is in Palm Beach County, and September 21st is Exotic Pet Amnesty Day in Coral Springs. As always, you can find more information at myfwc.com. Right now, it's time to go off the deep end.
Over here at the Jägermeister Workbench, and certainly Bonefish don't really know much about going off the deep end.
No,
but you do.
and I don't know much about bonefish either. Well, although the first one I caught was with you, thank you for that, at Chub Key, probably on one of those little trigger X's, I think.
Absolutely.
But bonefish, they're just a stout little fish. They're known for their speed. You know, everybody talks about how fast that first initial run is, and that's what everybody gets jazzed about when they go chasing a bonefish, because he's up in that real shallow water, so he's skittish already, and you're trying to find him and spot him, so it's a really challenging fish to catch, much like the permit is probably the most challenging on the flat. The bonefish is right there next to him. He's probably the second. And anything on the flat is going to be a little hard to catch, because he's up in that real shallow water, and he's worried about birds above and really fast barracudas, so those fish have to be able to move out, and the bonefish can move like nobody else, you know, especially once they get over 5 pounds, then they're really start to move out.
You're right.
So I thought we'd do this like we did about the tarpon last time, seeing how you make your living catching these things.
Okay.
For for the regular fellow who is coming to the Keys to go bone fishing, what would be the best months to try to target them?
The best months, Dave, because obviously cold fronts in January and February, not so much. But March, if we have a warm March, March is certainly a good time. April's a good time, May. Then as we get into those hot months, it's either early or late in the evening in June and July and in August. As September, second week of September, October, it's good again until it gets really cold. So I'm going to say the fall and the spring are the best time.
And you want to avoid the winds, I guess.
Absolutely.
All right. What are the, Randy said you really have to worry about the conditions. What are the perfect conditions that you're looking for when you pull up to a flat? What do you want to see?
That's a great question because a lot of guys don't get into that depth of thinking. But I got to say, when I find that you have an incoming tide with an east wind, you have tide and wind going in the same direction. What that simply does, Dave, is that magnifies the current. Now remember, a bonefish loves to feed by smell. So the more the current, like a shark, the more the current, the better the bonefish can smell. So when you have tide and wind going together, that's going to be the perfect
Draws
conditions.
all that stuff down to his piggy little snout.
And allows him to make a better living.
Okay, so let's say you're out there and you find a flat and you got the right current and you're out there. What are you looking for? Because I do a lot of offshore fishing, and there's a blue marlin 500 pounds behind the bait, and I'm trying to, he's there, and the guy can't see him. Same thing for me when I'm on the flats trying to find the bonefish, and the guy's saying, he's right there. I can't see the dang thing.
Well, if the water's shallow, then certainly you're going to be looking for tails.
Right.
But in most cases, if the water's over 12 to 14 inches in depth, you might not have tailing conditions. It's harder to see them when it's windy. So then you're going to look for muds. And the mud that a bonefish makes is not as dense as a mud that a stingray would make. So the great way to understand what that mud looks like is you look at what the push pole makes as the guy's poling. Take a look after he pulls the pole up. You'll see that little puff. That's what a bonefish mud looks like. A puff, and then another puff, and then another puff. And if you can connect the dots, that's what it's going to look like.
And you try to get out in front of those puffs.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any really good spots, like in the Keys, I go down there every once in a while, that you could actually think you get a shot at just wading off into the
Well, certainly
areas?
you have Long Key Park, you have, which is the Long Key Campground. That's a great place, Sandy Bottom. You have Lower Matacumbe Key and Isla Mirada, another place where you can get out and right off of US 1 there. You have Bay of Honda State Park. A lot of the state parks allow us to have unconditional wading things where you're not getting interfered with by boats or whatnot. So those are the places, sandy bottom places, really work well.
And those are good spots, those ones you just mentioned. All right, if you're out there throwing a fly, what is your favorite go-to fly? What's the one you're going to have on first thing?
Well, I mean, certainly it depends on the color of the bottom, but we're going to try to match the hatch. If it's more than 2 feet of water, I like throwing, this is called the red-headed stepchild. It's a Mark Croca deal.
I can relate.
But as you can see, it kind of has a little bit of a burnt color, so it matches a lot of that tan-colored bottoms that we like to fish on. I really like that, and a chartreuse and white clouser minnow. I really like a lot of the crab patterns. It's whatever the guide's personal choice is.
Throw what the guide says, too.
Absolutely, whatever your guide says.
All right.
And that was really fun. I appreciate that.
It's easy.
Lauren, speaking of appreciation, I appreciate the job you're doing, so where do we go next?
Well, thank you guys. Right now we're going to go off to check in with Captain Ron Houston in the Southwest. Ronnie, unfortunately, bonefish sightings aren't likely for you, are they?
No, unfortunately not, but I can tell you what, the redfish bite's been great all through the region, especially to the north. You want to focus on the late afternoon outgoing tides in the areas of Bull Bay, Turtle Bay, and the West Wall. Now look for these fish to be off the mangroves in troughs or points with current that have potholes. Also seek shorelines with plenty of pinfish flashing or schools of mullet. Now right now, wading or slowly using a trolling motor works, but you want to try to be stealthy for these redfish. Right now, the baits include live pinfish on a knocker rig, also 3 to 4 inch lip plugs, and olive or bone, and the Bass Assassin 5-inch soft plastic shads and golden brim, drunk monkey, or good penny. Fish are following the bait right now, so once you get with the bait, you'll be able to find the fish. Average size is 18 to 30 inches, but if you follow them gorged up with the bait, once you find them, there'll be a lot of oversized fish. But a little further to the south, the trout bite still remains to be great. There still seems to be an abundance of keeper-sized trout on the grass flats on the early morning low from Rabbit Key to Plover Key. Now, with those low tides and the easterly winds we're going to have this weekend, concentrate on outer edges and troughs. Locate the fish with topwater plugs or the Bass Assassin 4-inch shad. on quarter-ounce jig heads or oval quick corks. Best colors right now seem to be sexy shad, white, and lime truce, or you can simply fan cast a simple root beer grub on a quarter-ounce jig head, average size, 16 to 21 inches. For an easy bite on the offshore side, Spanish mackerel all through the region, but right now from the beach line, 10 miles out from Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass, along wrecks and large bait schools. You can also look for the diving birds. Once you locate them, live pilchards, silver spoons, white and chartreuse bucktails, and gotcha plugs will work. There's also some scattered king mackerel mixed in. Drop a large threadfin or a blue runner in these schools. Right now, the king mackerel has been averaging 12 to 18 pounds. But also another simple bite in the family bite, the mangrove snappers and the lane snappers. Right now, on most artificial reefs from Marco to Fort Myers Beach, real simple. Frozen chum has been drawing the fish up, and then simply, once you get them drawn up, small cut baits such as shrimp, squid, herring, and pelches will work. You can't get those. White bucktails tipped with shrimp. Plenty of fish for the taking. It should be easy to get some Spanish mackerel and mangrove snapper for limit.
Man, that is as smooth as silk, Ronnie. I gotta tell you, good job. I'm gonna go ahead and get to the southwest hotspots from your region. Midnight says inshore, snook, the dock fishing midnight until dawn, estero to Cape Coral using live shrimp and small lip plugs in swift current, and then offshore red groupers, Goodland estero, 25 to 45 feet of water, troll lipped plugs or cut baits along the hard bottom.
Thank you, Rick. When we return, we're going to check in with Captains Russell Theron and Jeffrey Page. Plus, we're going to check out the new Chevy Silverado. Stick around, guys. Don't miss it.
I can't wait to see.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Guy Harvey Clothing by AFTCO. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. The best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers. Everything for your outdoor adventures. Croquis, made in the USA. Drummond Community Bank. Costa, see what's out there. And Lumber Rock.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a paw and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
At highway speeds, things can get pretty windy. That's why the Chevrolet Cruze Eco has active aero grille shutters that close at higher speeds to improve aerodynamics. With an EPA estimated 42 miles per gallon highway, the Chevrolet Cruze Eco offers the best highway fuel economy of any gas engine in America. Always thinking of ways to give you more while using less. That's American ingenuity to find new roads.
What is CCA? CCA has been representing recreational fishermen for over 25 years, and when your rights to fish are threatened, the CCA is there to make sure government regulators are making sound decisions. I'm a life member of CCA, and when fishery decisions are being made, the CCA in the room is fighting for our recreational rights. We need to give our kids the same opportunities to fish as we did. Do what I did. Go to ccaflorida.org and join for only $25 so you can protect your recreational angling rights.
Continuing the revolution. Faster, drier, even better built. Designed around Yamaha's latest technology outboards. Still built by the same craftsmen and anglers who launched the Bay Boat Revolution. Whether chasing world records, or time on the water with the family, or anything in between, there's a new Pathfinder model for you. Pathfinder, #1 for a reason, still.
Welcome back to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, and a big welcome to Pat Dempsey, the Chevrolet District Manager, and he's here, as promised, to tell all of us about this brand new 2014 Chevy Silverado.
This 2014 Silverado is all new, hood to hitch. As far as the Silverado, it is stronger, smarter, and more capable than all our previous trucks.
Now, Pat, let me ask you something. You talked about the hitch. Tell me a little bit about the towing features of the truck.
Well, with the towing, we have a new engine lineup. We have 3 new Ecotec 3 engines. The first one is the V6, the 4.3 liter, and we have 2 V8s, the 5.3 liter and a 6.2 liter. As far as towing, our most popular towing package is with the 5.3 liter and the max towing package, which be able to tow 11,500 pounds.
Wow.
Super cool. Tons of power there. You know what doesn't take a lot of power? Here, scoot back here for me, Rick. I'll show you this awesome easy lift tailgate.
Easy lift,
How
easy
cool
drop
is this?
tailgate.
What? No more slam.
That's right.
No more slam of the tailgate, and it's also easy lift too.
For weenie arms like this.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, Pat, I noticed something here. There's actually what is that, a step in the bumper?
That's a step. That's a corner step for the bumper and a handheld, so it's easy access to get up and into the bed anytime you want.
Very cool.
Now, speaking of the bed, this is a working truck. So I noticed that in the last year's trucks, as well as previous years, as well as this new one, some features. What is all of this?
Well, you can see the 2 boards we have here. The one we have up here is just to demonstrate. They have channels in here that you can put your boards in a couple different spots. So you can lay your sheet of plywood over the top, giving you 2-tiered loading. So you can put your equipment on the top and below.
You know, Lauren, when we have a topper, though, Pat, sometimes seeing in the dark when we're loading up our boats and our trucks, what do you do for lights?
This year we have a great accessory. We have under the rail LED lighting. So in those early mornings, like you said, flip on the switch, you can see all your fishing equipment and be able to get it out when you want to.
Wow.
Or if you have a topper, it lights it up beautifully.
Lauren, let's see how easy that lift is.
Super easy, one-handed. Whoop, look at that. Amazing. You know what I really like on my Tahoe, though, is the backup camera. Is that an option here?
Backup camera is definitely an option on here, and it makes it extremely easy to hook up your boat.
You know, Pat, there's some great, exciting features for the new Silverado lineup, and I'm really proud that you're here to share it with us. Thank you so much for coming to Chevy Florida.
Thank you very much.
Very exciting.
Wonderful.
Man, one thing, if they wanted to see more information, there's some new incentives coming out. What do we do? Go to a dealer?
Yes, see your local Chevrolet dealership. They will give you all the details and all the ordering specifications.
All right, I need details on the next region we're going to. Where are we headed?
Yeah, you betcha. Right now, we're going to go see what's going on with Captain Russell Theron in the Northeast. Russell, what a bummer. No Bonefish for you.
Hey, how you doing, Lauren and Rick? And I tell you what, hey, Pat, boy, I tell you what, that Chevy HD, I drive a 2012, and there ain't a finer truck on the highway, buddy. I'm going to tell you that right now. Lauren, there's some redfish up here that think they're bonefish, but no, we don't have any bonefish in here in Northeast Florida.
I know, how sad.
I sure wish we did. But, you know, talking about some inshore fishing, we've got some good spotted sea trout fishing that's going to be some of the best inshore targets in September, especially as the water starts to cool down. Now, some of the most popular ways to catch sea trout in our region are by casting topwater plugs or jigging off the bottom with a very slow retrieve. Now, the sea trout are located in anywhere from 2 to 10 foot of water, and mostly where the water is clear. This is a great time to also, you know, start surf fishing. The trout surf fishermen can take advantage of the early morning and late afternoon trout bite, and especially like this weekend. Best areas and locations to surf fish for trout are on the points and inlets next to the eddies where the slower water is moving. The keys to these areas are watching for where there's lots of bait. Look for schools of mullet in the surf. Some of the best lures to use are topwater Rapala skier walks in the trout pattern, and because they can cast so far, it really gives you an opportunity to cover a lot more area. And of course, we can't talk about trout fishing without also including one of the #1 plugs, which is the storm chug bug, and especially in that mullet pattern. That trout run, the trout typical size are going to be running anywhere from 1 to 4 pounds.
All right, what else you got for us inshore?
Well, we're going offshore, Rick. We've talked about the bonefish and the trout fishing, and let's talk about some triggerfish.
Okay.
Now, the sea conditions have been pretty calm this week, only 1 to 2 foot, with water temperatures averaging anywhere from 82 to 85 degrees at the St. Mary's Sea Buoy. Now, this weekend, the marine forecast shows the winds are going to switch around to the northeast about 10 to 15, and seas could get up to maybe as much as 3 to 4 foot. But if you can get offshore, this is a good time of year to target triggerfish. And this weekend on some of the local reefs and wrecks, and of course the live bottoms, 75 to 110 foot of water. Some of the best baits are going to be cut cigar minnows and, of course, white squid. Some of the typical size triggerfish are going to be running anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds. Also, in some of the same areas, or we want to talk about the sea bass fishing. Now, the sea bass are taking on just about any structure in 65 to 75 foot of water offshore. Now, what you want to do is you rig up a double hookup rig with either 6 to 8 ounces to hold the bottom. And the sea bass, they like white squid and cut cigar minnows also. The sea bass are running anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds. And, Rick, I just want to also include that the Strike Zone Fishing here in Jacksonville is running a really good deal this weekend on getting your fishing reels respooled. The Strike Zone has the Suffix Performance Braid. It's a 15-pound test on 300-yard spools that's only on sale for $12.99. Now, they offer a variety of colors to choose from. I personally like to use the High Vis because it has less silhouette on the surface. If you get one of these here deals, you can save you as much as $22.
All right, good job, Russell. Thank you so much. And speaking of Strike Zone, I'm going to go ahead and look at the Strike Zone hotspots from the Northeast region. Inshore, target redfish in the surf on the incoming tide this weekend with live fingerling mullet and on a 3/8 hookup jig. And then offshore, sea bass, triggerfish on the local reefs and live bottoms in 75 to 110 feet of water. Use cut cigar minnows and squid for bait.
Rick, now let's head to the Central West with Captain Jeff Page. Jeffrey, you really don't have any bonefish, or are you just trying to be like Russell?
No, we really don't. You know, you hear about guys catching them once in a while in the inlet, like in Boca Grande Pass, and a friend of mine, Stacy, cast netted a couple small ones, but no, we don't target bonefish, and we don't really have any. So I've just got 2 inshore species to talk about, and I'm going to kick it off tonight with mangrove snapper. You know, this summer we've had a lot of rain, and probably the most consistent inshore bite has all summer long with all this rain has been the mangrove snapper. Most of your bridges are holding nice mangs. When I say bridges, I'm talking about the bridges in your ICW and the bridges that go over inlets like Longboat Pass and down in Gasparilla Pass. Really, anywhere there's good, strong current. And the key has been the current for them to bite good. You know, you can find them holding on structure, and if the current's not strong, those mangs can drive you crazy. Try to use as light a leader as possible, and if you're just going to use a monofilament rod, don't use any leader at all. Just use like a straight mono 12-pound or 10-pound mono with no leader, no hardware, and a small light wire hook like a 1 or a 1/0. As far as on the flats, look for the mangs holding in the sandy holes or sandy ledges just off the grass flats where there's lots of bait schools. Free-line live filters are the best bet, but we've even been getting them on the DOA glow shrimp, and a small 8 or silver, small 8 gold or silver spoon's been working real well. Species 2, snook. Well, the snook season's open with a bang last weekend, weather-wise especially. Labor Day weekend was just beautiful in the Starbright Central West region. Lots of snook were caught, very few legal-sized fish, a lot of small, undersized fish, and the ones that were pretty much oversized. I did hear about some guys keeping some, but for the most part, folks were very conservative about it and released a lot. And from all the fishing guides that I speak to, they're going to continue to release the snook this season just to give them a little more time to regroup. The passes and the inlets from Gasparilla Pass to the southern part of my region, to Anna Maria to the north, live free-line filters have been working well. Pinfish, sand brim, and then for your bigger fish, live ladyfish or live silver mullet have been working well. If you want to throw artificials, it's tough to beat the saltwater assassin sea shad in that violet moon pattern on a 1/4 or 3/8 ounce silver hookup jig head. Or throw topwater plugs up on the grass flats around oyster bars, mangroves, and the mullet schools in that new Mirror Sea Eyes Pro Series in the red and white or the chartreuse green.
All right, let's go offshore, Jeffrey.
Offshore, Lots of smaller chicken dolphin, little mahis, are holding on any grass lines or floating debris. You always hear about that. And in my region, you got to get out there a little further, 40, 35, 40 miles on out. Once you find some debris, you can chunk bait them with cut bait. You can chum a little bit around the debris to get them fired up. Free line live, smaller pilchards on light tackle for your smaller fish, and then maybe keep one big free line thread fin on a little bit heavier duty rod, kind of out away from the bite for your bigger dolphin. Species 2, the boys at Double Nickel Charters have been wrecking the blackfin tuna, Rick, just wearing them out. 80 miles on out. You got to get out there. And they're holding on some of your well-known wrecks and structure like the Christmas rigs, the elbow, the wall, to name a few. The key has been finding the big bait schools. If the weather's calm, the baits are going to be up top. If the weather's a little choppy, you can mark them down. And then what they're doing is they're dropping down the Williamson Vortex jigs, or they're dropping down chunk baits in a similar pattern to fishing for snapper. You know, you can chum them up as well. Tunas are averaging 12 to 20 pounds. Have a photo tonight from the guys at Double Nickel Charters out of Marina Jack with a really nice boatload of blackfin tunas they caught.
All right, good job.
I also have a photo, speaking of Marina Jack. Next week is the first annual saltwater shootout. 100 grand for the billfish division and 10 grand for the grouper and 10 grand for the inshore. For more information, you can call the folks at Economy Tackle, 941-922-9671.
All right, good job. Great report from the Central West region. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Startron hotspots from Captain Page. Inshore, redfish. Big schools of redfish are holding on the bars off of Turtle and Bull Bay to the south and Long Bar to the north. And then offshore, mangrove snapper. Nice mangs being taken in as close as 80 feet and on out to 120 feet of water over wrecks and ledges. Live pinfish or pilchards are going to give you the best bet.
Big payday there.
Man,
taking them out.
I don't remember him calling me and asking me if we want to fish that redfish division, but we'll talk about that.
He didn't invite you for a reason.
Exactly.
You stay home. All right, when we return, we're going to check in with Captain Pat in the Panhandle, and Dave is back with some new products to introduce us to from the Workbench. Stay right where you are, guys.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by CCA, the voice of recreational anglers for over 25 years. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Hookup Lures, premium lures for serious anglers. La Jolla Resort, a place for family and fishermen. And Maverick Boat Company, makers of premium brand boats. Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Hi, I'm Ariana.
I'm Natalie of the Miami Dolphins cheerleaders for Bennett Auto Supply.
When it comes to spark plugs, look to NGK, the world leader in spark plug technology. NGK makes spark plugs for virtually every automobile, motorcycle, marine, and small engine application.
With NGK spark plugs, you get improved performance and increased fuel economy. So just ask your local technician for NGK spark plugs, the leader in spark plug technology, available at Bennett Auto Supply.
Best parts,
best prices, Bennett Auto Supply.
He's a 20 years straight, get to work on time. He's loved one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
Welcome back to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're over here at the Jägermeister Workbench, new products. That's where you make your money. So go ahead, let's give it
It's
to
a
him.
big one, and he's not happy, remember?
Yeah, I do.
Anyway, when we get on a flats boat, one thing about when you get on a little flats boat is space is always a problem, you know, storage space and everything else. So any little things that you can do to help you put something somewhere else is a cool little thing. And this is from Boat Outfitters, who makes a ton of great little products. But this is the thing, this one goes on, this little drink holder goes on to your trolling motor, and it holds all kinds of tools. It's got a plier holder, a little ring here you can put a lanyard on. You can actually use one of these little mesh bags to put on here, or you could put a spool of leader line up here. So you can put your leader on from the front, not having to go to the back. Obviously a frosty beverage holder, you know, for your Fresca or whatever you're gonna have, and also a rod holder, which, you know, it's awesome if you're up in the front and you have a net and you don't want to, you can set the rod in the rod holder and grab the line and net the fish, do whatever you want to do. Really cool to get something out of your hands, made by Boat Outfitters. And also, if you can think of a little thing that you might want to have on your boat, go to Boat Outfitters and look it up, because they've got a ton of little.
I'm gonna say job well done on that.
That's a cool little thing, and it stays on there even when you pull it up and store it. You don't have to take it on and off.
What other cool little things you got here?
Well, this is the snickle stick.
The snickle stick.
The snickle stick, because it's a tickle
Not
stick.
tickle.
Yeah, right, because it's a tickle stick and a snare.
So
they called it a snickle stick.
A snickle stick.
Yep, and what's really cool about this thing is when you buy it, you get an extra snare, because the snare is always the first thing that tears up on a snare, and you can replace it real easy with a little Allen wrench in there. And it's got, you know, obviously a tickle stick. This is 3 inches long, which is, you could use it as a real quick measurement. You know, always use your lobster gauge, but you can use this as a real quick measurement. You just get that thing behind him, and when you get it up on him, you just give it a jerk and roll down there and grab the lobster. Really,
comes with an extra lanyard in case you need to replace that.
Really cool little
Not
thing.
tickle.
Not tickle.
Not tickle.com.
Yep, the snickle stick. All right.
What else?
Well, we got some Starbright stuff. You know, everybody knows about how Starbright can clean. You know, they got mops and all kinds of cleaning supplies, and they make really good cleaning stuff. But they also have a corrosion block. This is the Starbright's Ultimate Corrosion Blocker, and I have a little boat where everything's open underneath. So every time you take it out, you have to, you know, spray everything down with a good corrosion block, and this is excellent for that. You don't have to worry. Any metal it'll go on. It just dries without a tack. You know, Starbright makes really good stuff. So, you know, this is a great product for getting all your wiring harnesses and your engine, spray down your engine to keep corrosion off of it.
No doubt.
All right.
All right, Dave.
Also, we have, moving along, we have a new line by Trilene. This is the Berkeley, I put a little sticker on there, little Berkeley Trilene Super Strong Pro Braid. Now, what makes this different, if you can feel it, when you guys can't at home, but feels like a mono almost.
Yeah.
It's very round, which is, you know, hard for a braid to do. They have to use 8 little machines to spin around and make this stuff. And it's very strong, but very round and smooth through the guides. A lot of the things you'll hear about when a guy's using a braid, you know, I don't really like the way it feels as it's coming in, because it doesn't feel right.
Right.
Well, that feels perfect. It's really good stuff, and very strong and durable, and goes from 20 to 80 in low vis, that low vis green. These are really cool. These are the new KVD soft plastic hooks from Mustad. And what these do, they have the little pin on there for your soft baits, so that when you jack that soft bait all the way up to the top, all the way up to the front there, they got a little welded on pin that holds your soft bait in position. And when you set the hook, it won't go down into the gap. They also got an extremely wide gap and a really sharp, very micro sharp point that's in line with the eye of the hook, so that when you set the hook, you get all that point going into the jawbone of the fish that you're trying to hook. But the Mustad KVDs, that's Kevin Van Dam, by
Of
the
course,
way.
one of the sharpest guys in the industry.
Yeah.
So
Soft
let's
plastic.
be realistic.
Yeah, he's a good fella.
All right, speaking of sharp, Lauren is the sharpest one in this studio.
That's
so
for sure.
Where are we headed now?
You know it. Now, you boys keep your snickle sticks to yourself over there.
Yeah, right.
All right? We're going to head to the Florida Panhandle with Captain Pat Deneen. Captain Pat, do you have any bonefish action to tell us about?
Lauren, there's been a few bonefish caught in the Panhandle, but not enough to really talk about. But what we have been catching a lot of is redfish, and this is the time of year where the redfish is really good. It's been consistent throughout the Panhandle, both shallow on the grass flats and also deep around the channels and bridges. Captain Jeff Mormon of First Light Charters in Panama City, he's been targeting the residential docks in 3 to 6 feet of water. He's either free-lining or slip-sinking a live filtered. He's been looking for the moving water on the points and also on the channel edges. In Choctawhatchee Bay, we've been getting them around the residential docks over patchy bottom in 2 to 4 feet of water. We've been casting artificial baits, spoons, spinner baits, soft flashes, and mirrodines. And then also the Destin Bridge, the Brooks Bridge, and the Bar Bridge are all holding redfish right now. The key to catching the bridge fish is a live bait on the bottom. A 3 to 5 inch croaker or a spot minnow is the best way to go. And then further west down the Sound, on the north side of the Sound between Tiger Point and Deer Point, all those docks can be good. Trolling motor or drift along, casting those docks and those deep potholes around the docks. And when you get a bite, drop the power pole because chances are you're going to catch more than one fish in that area. The dock fish are running 20 to 26 inches, and the bridge fish are running 26 to 33 plus inches. And there's a photo there of Grasshopper and Jerry Campbell. And that's a nice Crab Island redfish we caught on a croaker under a clacker bobber. And this time of year, Crab Island really turns on with those big, big bull redfish.
Yeah, those clacker bobbers, call them up from the deep, don't they, Pat?
Yeah, clacker bobber down.
All right, let's go in, stay inshore.
All right, the scallops, man. We haven't talked about scallops at all, but we've got some really good scallop fishing or scallop catching, collecting over in Port St. Joe. It's kind of late in the season. The water's a bit off color from the rainy summer that we've had, but visibility is really not a problem. We were over there Sunday, and the potholes around and behind Black's Island were easy enough to see through a good pair of polarized glasses like Costa del Mar's. Look for the holes with 3 to 5 feet of water. The shallower sand patches seem to be picked out while the deeper ones had scallops. Hunt the sand grass edges, or better yet, find some holes that have a mix of sand and grass in the bottom of them. The late season scallops are not as numerous as the early season, but the meats are definitely a lot bigger. Labor Day has already passed, so there's not nearly as many folks looking for them. Start early, do a little trout fishing around Eagles Harbor, and before you head into the scallop grounds, catch some trout, and then go get some scallops. There's a photo there. It's Rich and Sharon Adams, and they're on the right, and then Cindy and Vic are on the left. And they had a nice haul of Port St. Joe scallops from Sunday, but they were there all weekend. They got their limit every day, so there's still no shortage of them.
Yummy, man. All right, let's go offshore.
Offshore, Rick, the grouper bite seems to be pretty good. I spoke with Captain Tony Davis on the Anastasia. The longer trips, the 8 to 10 hour trips, are doing really well on gag groupers, scamp groupers, and big mingo snappers. They're targeting the deeper natural and artificial bottom in 250 to 300 plus feet of water. They're using a live pinfish, a white snapper, or a mingo snapper on the bottom. But also in the deeper spots, a live bait isn't critical. A butterfly mingo or even a piece of an octopus is a great way to go. The scamps are running 8 to 12 pounds and up, while the gags are running a little bit larger. The Just Tees and Destin, they brought one home Sunday that was a little bit over 30 pounds. So that's some good eating fish right there. Also offshore, the sword fishing has been good this past week near the spur. Gary Smith on their new Viking, they were coming home from Key West and overnighted just around the spur. They caught one around 40 pounds, one about 150 pounds. I spoke with Captain John Tate on Bella Maria, and they were marking plenty of bait north and east of the spur and really pretty water. Set up a drift at sunset, 900 to 1,200 foot of water, especially where you're marking that bait down deep in the daytime. Fish several rods with squid, Boston mackerel, or hardtails. Bury your baits from 50 to 300 feet of water. And if you have the equipment, don't be afraid to do a little deep drop in there in the daytime. There's been some real successful deep drop trips out of the Northern Gulf this past summer for swordfish. And also Captain Jake Adams on the Nothing Matters out of Pensacola. They've been doing the combo, bottom fishing for groupers, overnighting for swordfish, and then bottom fishing. They had a really nice catch this past week of grouper, dolphin, and swordfish.
All right, great report, Pat, from the Panhandle region, and we're going to go ahead and get to the Blue Water Outriggers hotspots from your region. Inshore, early morning trout bite at Garkin Point using skitter walks or mirrodines over grass in 3 to 5 feet of water. And then offshore, big amberjacks coming off the deeper wrecks. Fish large, lively hardtails, which is a blue runner, a ladyfish, bluefish, mid-water with a stout tackle. And the reason why you want to go mid-depth is so you have a chance to get him before he gets you in the wreck.
Good tip.
Yeah, man.
All right.
I know that game.
Stay with us, guys. When we return, we're going to hear from the Northwest and the East. There's plenty more to come right here on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevy, the Florida Lottery, Best Parts, Best Prices, Bennett Auto Supply, Contender Boats, Performance Through Innovation, Navionics, We Start Where the Roads End, and Guy Harvey, artist, explorer, marine scientist, conservationist, and diver.
At highway speeds, things can get pretty windy. That's why the Chevrolet Cruze Eco has active aero grille shutters that close at higher speeds to improve aerodynamics. With an EPA estimated 42 miles per gallon highway, the Chevrolet Cruze Eco offers the best highway fuel economy of any gas engine in America. Always thinking of ways to give you more while using less. That's American ingenuity to find new roads.
Continuing the revolution. Faster, drier, even better built. Designed around Yamaha's latest technology outboards. Still built by the same craftsmen and anglers who launched the Bay Boat Revolution. Whether chasing world records, or time on the water with the family, or anything in between, there's a new Pathfinder model for you. Pathfinder, #1 for a reason, still.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has masterfully captured the wonder of marine wildlife in his artwork. Now he's sharing his inspiration with the Florida Lottery by creating 12 exclusive images for the Collector Series Guy Harvey Scratch-Off game, featuring a top prize of $50,000 and a second chance opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate the beauty and riches of Florida with Guy Harvey Scratch-Off games today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
It's 200 streamlined horsepower of Yamaha forward thinking. The all-new F200 inline 4-stroke. Whether you're an offshore angler, pontoon cruiser, bay boater, or walleye hunter, the responsive and fuel-efficient F200 combines amazing power and versatility in one incredibly compact and lightweight package. The all-new F200. Legendary Yamaha reliability and the freedom of forward thinking.
Make sure to check out our website at the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report.com, where you can get daily reports from our 9 captains. Also, if you'd like to be featured on our show, upload your best photos to our Facebook page. And if you'd like to be part of our studio audience, that's where you can get registered as well. Now, Rick, it sounds like Yamaha has some pretty cool stuff coming out, and you got a first-hand look already.
No doubt.
All right, I'm ready to see this.
Hey, I'm here in Bridgeport, Alabama at Yamaha's testing center, and I gotta tell you, one of the things that has come out of this year's new product line is the new 2.8-liter Yamahas. Now, they're featuring these in the 200 horsepower as well as the new SHO 150. Now, guys, for you guys that are really interested in fishing in the flats, the one thing that's awesome about this is the variable camshaft timing. What that does is it gives us a low-end torque that we've never seen before in the 4-strokes. It's as good, if not better, than the 2-strokes that we used to use. Much more quieter because it is a 4-stroke. What I've seen really happen here is that we're able to jump up on plane in a lot shallower water in a lot quicker distance. Our overall speed also is a lot faster. So I gotta tell you, the new 2.8-liter 200s and 150 SHOs are really gonna change the way we do things on the flats. You know, I learned so much when I went to the testing center about all the different Yamahas, just not the new 2.8 liters, Lauren. And it was one of the best 7 days that I have ever spent. It was really cool.
Yeah, I bet so. They let you hit the water running. That looked like a good time.
I hit the water running, and it was cold, so I'm wearing a Yamaha snowmobile jacket.
Very nice. Looked very cool there. Lots of great
awesome
stuff coming out.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's move along to the Yeti Northwest region. We have Captain Jeff Hageman up there. Now, Jeff, bonefish pop up every here and there in your region, right?
We get a few that are caught by mistake every now and then, but nothing we can target. We don't get any schools or anything like that. But every now and then they get caught in power plants or around oyster bars when somebody's red fishing with some shrimp. But not something we target up here.
All right, well then tell me what you can target. Come on, man. You know how this show works.
Captain Jordan Todd, Saltwater Obsessions out of St. Vincent Island, which says the redfish bite's been turning on right now. The shrimp hatch has already begun, and the reds are eating really good. I concentrated around the creek mouth right now in the lagoon. Outgoing tide is bringing the bait out right to the fish, so live shrimp under a popping cork's been working real well, or any kind of artificial shrimp like a gulp, sticky finger shrimp on a jig head works really well. The average fish right now, he says, are running anywhere from 20 to 30-inch fish, so some good fish up there. Also inshore, Captain Jamie Goodman of GoFarToFishing.com out of Clearwater reports a good snook bite right now. He's been fishing around the docks in the passes and the jetties in Clearwater and St. Joseph Sound right now, and the outgoing tide's been the key. He's using pinfish or grass grunts, not a Key West grunt, but grass grunt, and he's free-lining them on the outgoing tide underneath these docks and on the jetties in the Clearwater area and producing some great fish up to 40 inches.
All right, what you got offshore, big man?
I got grouper. The grouper bite throughout my region has been really good and getting better and better. All the reports I've been getting through the region are anywhere from 120 feet of water as shallow as 80 feet of water. Excuse me. Most of the people right now are fishing over rock piles and ledges, pinfish, sardines, cut sardines on a heavy bottom rig, 8 ounces to 6 ounces of lead, depending on the tide. And most of the people are using really heavy gear right now. There's a lot of big fish out there. I'm getting fish up to 25 pounds being reported, so a lot of good fish. They're averaging right now anywhere from 4 to 12, but you want to have that heavy tackle when you get that big bruiser on to get them out of the rocks real quick. Also offshore, mangrove snapper bite in my region has been really good and continues to get better as we approach this next moon right now. You want to fish on high relief structures. Right now, the snapper bite inside the bay and out throughout my region on the outside, they're really concentrating really thick right now. A tail-hooked shrimp on a hookup jig head or a small pinfish has been a real key, but you want to drop your leader size down. Suffolk's fluorocarbon leader is a must. 20 or even 15-pound test. You want to downsize your leader, and it'll get a whole lot more bites right now on the smallest circle hook you can get away with.
All right, great report, Jeff. I'm going to go ahead and get to the Drummond Community Bank hotspots from the Northwest region. Captain Jeff says inshore, snook on the beaches and in the passes. Use pinfish and grunts for bait, and then offshore, mangrove snapper can be found on the high relief structures in 25 to 80 feet of water, Lauren.
Moving right along, Rick, Captain Mike Holliday is in the East region, and Mike, you're going to share with us where to locate the few bonefish of the East. What do you have for us?
That's true, Lauren. The East region isn't exactly the hotbed of bonefish action, but we do catch some fish, particularly on the beaches and around the flats and spoil islands close to the inlet. That means places like Peanut Island, Norman's Wreck, Hope Sound Beach, the Shellfish Point Flats, the Crossroads, and the Sandbar on the south side of the St. Lucie Inlet. They're all locations that hold bonefish. And then, that being said, most anglers who catch them in my region do so while targeting pompano. You can target these fish with live shrimp or sand fleas, shrimp and jig combinations. Wade the shoreline around Peanut Island or the sandbars around the St. Lucie Inlet and cast live shrimp with a split shot. These bonefish are small, averaging around a pound, but I've seen them up to 7 or 8 pounds and caught as far north in the Indian River as Nettles Island in St. Lucie County. So for the most part, you got to luck into them. They travel in school, so where you do catch one, you're likely to catch more.
All right, what else you got for me inshore there, Big Daddy?
Well, snook season opened on Sunday, and the fishing was less than spectacular, but there were, a good number of slot and over the slot fish caught. A lot of the fish pushed out of the inlets and onto the beaches or inshore to their staging areas. So if you found minnows on the beach, you did pretty well. The Lake Worth and Juneau Beach fishing piers had good action, mainly on live sardines and croakers. The Fort Pierce Inlet and North Bridge gave up some huge fish over the weekend. With today's new moon, I expect to see another push of fish in the inlets as they finish the spawn and lock onto the first half of the fall mullet run arriving. That means, fish will be keyed in on the mullets or top water plugs like a Yozuri sashimi pencil and soft plastics like a bass assassin dye dapper. Those will be super productive in low light conditions. Once the sun gets up, switch over to live mullet on 50-pound fluorocarbon leader and 4 VMC circle hooks. Switch your mullet on the seawalls or along the shoreline, on the beach or around the jetties, and you'll get your slot fish. If you're looking for the biggest snook of the year, soak a mullet head on the bottom in those same areas. The average snook's 4 to 12 pounds. I've got a photo there. That's Ariel Pered. He's president of CV Boat. He caught that snook over the weekend in Stewart, and he's fishing St. Lucie Inlet with live sardines.
All right, what do you got for me offshore, big man?
Well, you can definitely tell school's back in. It's just been a fantastic week for schoolie dolphin. Fish will be caught anywhere between 70 feet of water and 2,000 feet. If you found something floating, there's small dolphin around it right now. Most of the dolphin are under 10 pounds, so keep in mind there's a 20-inch fork minimum and 10 fish per boat limit. And only keep the fish you plan to eat right away. Those fish represent the future of the fishery and the larger fish of spring. So if you can find something floating, weeds, a tree branch, a buoy, a rope, or pallet, either troll around it with rig ballyhoo or pitch a live bait, on the floating object. Make sure you got plenty of spinning rods ready and rigged to throw either, cut bait or yellow 1-ounce hookup jig or a topwater plug. And be sure to keep the fish in the water, keep the school around the boat. Average dolphin are 4 to 15 pounds. Now, the other bite, the reef lines from Palm Beach all the way up to Fort Pierce in 60 to 90 feet of water, producing a mixed bag of mangrove, mutton, and yellowtail snapper. The action's not fast and furious, but instead you kind of pick away at the fish, and by the end of the morning or evening, you've got a limit of snappers. What's really nice is that a lot of the fish are big, particularly those for the guys that are fishing at night. There's been some huge yellowtails and mangroves, and even mutton's up to about 15 pounds. So you can anchor up and chum or drift the reef with a live or dead sardine or cigar minnow or pilchard or finger mullet on 20 to 30-pound tackle, 40-pound fluorocarbon leader, and 5/0 circle hook. Basically just enough weight to hold bottom. The real key, to snapper fishing is that you don't set the hook when you feel the bite. They kind of pick at it a little bit. So just wait until the line comes tight and then reel down, lift the rod. The average snapper is 1 to 8 pounds.
All right, Mike, we're going to go ahead. Tell me about the bass fishing. It's been cooler in the morning. Has it gotten better?
It's gotten really good, particularly in the morning. The temperatures have been in the 70s, in the middle of the state, so get an early start. Lake Okeechobee is the place to be. Work a shad-colored bass assassin diedapper or a white spinnerbait along the outside edges of the grass for that first hour light. Then the bite slows down a little bit. You can move to thicker vegetation and throw either a Senko or a 10-inch June bud-colored worm. I was talking to Captain Blake Marsaki, and he said the biggest fish are coming out of the larger clumps of cattails and hydrilla during that mid-morning bite. So, you can expect to catch 30 to 50 fish a morning with a 2-pound average, but it's kind of a wind-related fishery. The best action's on the lee side of the lake. So the wind's out of the east, you fish from, Henry Creek to J&S Fish Camp. When the wind's out of the west, you fish from Third Point to Chin House Cove. 11 o'clock, the bite's over. The water's heating up to about 80 degrees or so. So find the clean water, you find the fish. The big numbers are early, and the big fish are coming mid-morning.
All right, Mike, I got a question for you. You are really a snook specialist, probably one of the best snook fishermen I've ever met for the East Coast. My question to you is, we're now beginning the fall. So what's the difference in the way you catch a big snook in the fall versus when the fish are in all the inlets spawning?
Well, the fish right now are going to be targeting mullet and moving to the ambush point. So anywhere you have a point of land that sticks out or a dock that sticks out, anything that basically blocks the movement of the fish, the movement of the mullet along the shoreline that they have to go around, that's where the fish are going to be. The bigger fish are going to be moving from the inlet into the rivers and into the brackish areas. So wherever the big mullet schools are, and look for the bigger mullet, throw bigger bait, and you'll catch a lot more of those bigger fish. And you'll probably catch more snook over 25 pounds in September and October than you'll do the rest of the other 10 months of the year.
All right, great tip. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Bennett Auto Supply hotspots from the East region. In short, tarpon and snook on the beaches of Martin and St. Lucie County. Find the minnow schools and fish white didappers or live mullet. And then offshore, kingfish and dolphin, 60 to 80 feet of water from Jupiter to St. Lucie Power Plant. Live sardines, mullet, or blue runners on a number 4 wire, Lauren.
When we return, we're going to have the Coast to Conservation Minute, and we're going to visit with Captain Jim Ross. We'll see what he has for us in the CCA Central East. Don't miss it.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Reactor, the best built performance sports watch, period. StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Strike Zone Fishing. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. And Yamaha, reliability starts here.
20 years straight, get to work on time. He's loved one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has masterfully captured the wonder of marine wildlife in his artwork. Now he's sharing his inspiration with the Florida Lottery by creating 12 exclusive images for the Collector Series Guy Harvey Scratch-Off game, featuring a top prize of $50,000 and a second chance opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate the beauty and riches of Florida with Guy Harvey Scratch-Off games today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
You already know about the La Jolla Resort in Isla Mirada, so let's talk about the La Jolla experience. With an on-site boat ramp, the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic is just minutes away. And when you return from fishing, there's barbecue pits to cook your catch while your family enjoys the pool or one of our new remodeled rooms. This historic resort, the La Jolla, is family-owned and operated and has a friendly staff ready to make your La Jolla experience a really great one.
You know there's more to it than luck. There's fishing the right bait, the water temperature, the wind, the season, and then there's the boat. We'll put it simply, the boat matters. To own a Contender is to own the best sport fishing boat on the market, period. Contender offers the most comprehensive model range with bigger, faster, and more fuel-efficient boats than the competition. There's only one choice for serious anglers. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation.
Today's Costa Conservation Minute is about bait. Now guys, understand that there was some confusion when we did our bait show about the different names for the different baits in different regions. So let's go over this. Guys, there's mullet. Mullet are black mullet, silver mullet, and finger mullet. Now whether a finger mullet is a baby black mullet or a silver, I don't know. I'm not a biologist. But let's talk a little bit about pilchards. Pilchards are pilchards, but we call them razor bellies, we call them white bait, we call them greenies in some place, and then I gotta tell you, greenies are actually thread fin. So I don't want to confuse you, but a thread fin herring is what most guys call greenies. So let's not get confused here. They are very similar in shape, but razor bellies are pilchards. Greenies are thread fins. So make sure that you understand that this is more of an offshore bait, maybe a big fish bait, versus a pilchard could be used for a variety of different types of baits. A great bait for chumming. Certainly, in the Panhandle region, a pinfish is called a chofer. There's no mistaking about that. And sardines are sardines, whether they're scaled sardines and they're not cigar minnows. So I hope that clarifies it, and that's today's Costa Conservation Minute. Well, you saw how I said minnows. That's what happens when you kind of run out of stuff to say.
Well, I was going to say, that clarifies it pretty much for the rest of us. Unless you're on a boat with Jeff Page, who's literally rewriting the jargon on fishing as he goes along.
No doubt.
I think even I was sweet the first time I went out with him.
You were sweet.
Yeah. I like that, though.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay.
He comes up with some good stuff.
Yes, he does.
Last but not least, guys, we turn to the CCA Central East with Captain Jim Ross. Captain Jim, what do you know about bonefish in your area?
Well, Lauren and Rick, they're really not a very targetable species in the Central East region. But, you know, once in a while anglers do catch them, especially while they're surf fishing for whiting or pompano along the beaches. Now, that usually occurs when you're using a small piece of bait, like a little piece of shrimp or squid or a whole sand flea on a 2-drop or 3-drop rig out there in the surf. The majority of those fish weigh about a pound, so you're probably not going to land any world records anytime soon in the CCA Central East region. But we do get one once in a while, but definitely not very targetable. However, what is targetable right now is the snook. The season is now open, and all the initial reports that we're getting, and in fact, myself included, along the beaches and at the inlets, is that the fall mullet run started, and many anglers are catching legal and oversized snook right now. They're using 6 to 10 inch mullet for the most part, but live pogies are also working very well. And you want to target around the inlet rocks and the jetties. That's where these fish are trying to congregate. Now, those larger baits that I just mentioned are keeping the undersized snook from getting any idea about trying to strike your offering, which helps a lot when you're trying to find something to bring home to the table. You want to rig those baits on either a 5/0 J-style hook or a 7/0, roughly 5 to 7/0 size BMC circle hook. There's also a lot of lures that we use in the Central East region for snook, but one of the favorites, universally, bet anywhere you want to go, is the Rapala X-Rap in the size 12 or 14. And the olive green color is probably your best color to use overall. You can use that thing while you're fishing at the inlets. You can use it while you're fishing in the surf. And, if there's some turbid water, there's usually snook even in turbid water. You may want to go a little brighter on your color, but for the most part, that olive green color is going to get it done. Most of our snook are running about 26 to 38 inches, and that's about 6 to 18 pounds right now. Now, I've got a picture of John Wilkes. He's a resident of Merritt Island. He caught a couple of nice snook with his wife, Helena, the other day. They were out at Canaveral, and they caught those fish on live pogies right there by the jetty at Port Canaveral.
All right, let's
Now,
go offshore.
Going offshore.
Go ahead.
Going offshore, the flounder bite has turned on the offshore reefs this week. The pogies, finger mullet, and sardine in the small to medium size are working best. Anglers should rig these bait fish on either a hookup jig head or a slide and sinker rig. You want to get just enough weight to get to the bottom. You don't want to overly weight this thing if you don't have to. The areas to try are any of the reefs and wrecks in the 60 to 90 foot area. That seems to be working best between Canaveral and Ponce. Now, the fish have been moving around a lot, and flounder will move, so don't be afraid to run and gun from spot to spot until you start getting some bites. If you don't mark bait on your sounder, then you're probably not going to find fish there. Now, the average fish is running 3 to 6 pounds, but, captains like Glenn Austin out of Palm Bay have landed fish to over 8 pounds this week. Our last species that we have offshore this week, Rick, is the tarpon, and I know that's one of your favorites. One of my favorites as well. Schools of mullet are running down the beach, pogies and glass minnows as well. The tarpon are beating on them as hard as they can as they move southward. You want to look for them in the 10 to 50 foot depths. Just look around for explosions on top. Anywhere you see the bait fish getting frantic or birds working over the top of the pods, that's the best place to look. Generally, you want to use a 20 to 30 pound class outfit. You want to use a 60 to 80 pound test, Step Explorer carbon leader, and an 8/0 to 9/0 size of BMT circle hook. Our average tarpon this week was running about 70 to 90 pounds, but there are some 140 pound class fish out there. And last but not least, I have Jacob Bogle, or Bogle, I guess it is, and Tucker Perry with some Central East red snapper from our open red snapper season that we had the other day. Those are two beautiful fish. In fact, Jacob came in 4th place in the red snapper research tournament, so that was pretty good. In the open division, not the kids, but the open division. So he stepped it up for the kids out there.
All right, Jim, before we go, I got a question for you in reference to the red snapper tournament that you had a couple weeks ago. Jim, tell me if you know the final numbers of how many carcasses do you know that were collected during that season? You got any idea? If you don't know exact, give me a guesstimate.
Yeah, Beverly Saws, one of the FWC biologists, has not got the total numbers on it yet, but out of Port Canaveral alone, just from the recreational anglers, there were still over 200 that were brought in. That doesn't include head boats, charter boats, or for the tournament, and that's just out of Port Canaveral. Now, last year they had 60 total, so we've done a fantastic job about getting the awareness out there to people, and those anglers, then bringing those carcasses in. I'm going to hopefully have final numbers on next week's show. Beverly said she should have them finalized by then, and I'll be able to update everybody on that.
All right, one other question I have for you, Jim. I know that you're the host of a radio show. Tell me what time that show is on and what you're going to be talking about this week.
Well, Rick, this coming week we're going to be talking a lot about what's going on in the Mosquito Lagoon in the Indian River. It's time for the giant redfish to show up. They've started their preliminary schooling activity. Us guys, we really like to catch these fish because there's 200 to sometimes 500 40-plus-inch redfish in a school. We're going to be talking about that Saturday morning on 1300 WMEL AM out of Cocoa. That's from 7:35 till 9:30 a.m., and you can listen to it on the web stream on the Catch a Memory Outdoors website.
All right, that clears up a lot of questions. I appreciate it. And great report tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get to the hot spots from the Central East region. Inshore, redfish in the Mosquito Lagoon use cut baits on VMC 7385 circle hooks in the sandy potholes. And then offshore, a mixed bag of black sea bass, triggerfish, mangrove snappers, and 60 to 90 foot reefs. You're going to want to use cut squid or sardines on a standard bottom rig.
You know, Rick, not all of the guys had stuff to share on Bonefish this week, but as usual, all 9 of our captains bring in the great info so everyone can get out in the water and kill it this week.
Absolutely, they have.
That's why they're the best.
It's been a little bit of a circus tonight, though. We got dogs, we got kids, we got warriors, and we got guys jamming out
Yeah,
next
jam
door.
session next door. That's all right.
In the other studio. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about all our heroes that are here in the studio tonight.
Yeah, and we'll also tell you what we got coming up next week. You guys come right back.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has masterfully captured the wonder of marine wildlife in his artwork. Now he's sharing his inspiration with the Florida Lottery by creating 12 exclusive images for the Collector Series Guy Harvey Scratch-Off game, featuring a top prize of $50,000 and a second chance opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate the beauty and riches of Florida with Guy Harvey Scratch-Off games today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
At highway speeds, things can get pretty windy. That's why the Chevrolet Cruze Eco has active aero grille shutters that close at higher speeds to improve aerodynamics. With an EPA estimated 42 miles per gallon highway, the Chevrolet Cruze Eco offers the best highway fuel economy of any gas engine in America. Always thinking of ways to give you more while using less. That's American ingenuity to find new roads.
Hi, I lost a big fish earlier today. Wasn't using suffix. It was about this big.
Look, slow down there, cowboy, okay? A fish in the lost a van, huh? You want your fish. Sorry, honey, that fish is gone.
Always use the best line, Suffix 832.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a paw and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
If you like fishing or the history of fishing, then I have a must-see place for you. The IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame and Museum in Dania Beach. What makes the IGFA so cool is that they have theaters where you can learn about the journey of fishing, galleries where the kids can see antique reels or catch a big one. The Hall of Fame room has over 140 beautiful fish mounts, and maybe in the E.K. Harry Library, you may see a live alligator. For more family fun, go to igfa.org.
Next week, our theme is the fabulous Florida Keys, which means you better bring your A game, Captain Randy. You guys make sure to check us out next Thursday, September 12th. You can also catch repeats on Friday and Saturday. Just visit Sun Sports and your local listings for more details.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about our heroes, our veterans that have come in. And Captain Neil Stark, 5 years ago, started fishingwithamericasfinest.org, or this organization. And the whole concept behind this is when the soldiers return from whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, Grenada, wherever they come back to, I mean, when they come back to the U.S., they found that by getting those guys into fishing, it helps them get reacquainted with what's going on. And it's such a relaxed environment compared to where they came from. So this is what this is all about. Guys, we appreciate you guys in a huge, huge way. And more importantly, we also have, for each one of the guys, we have a poster that was supplied by Guy Harvey, and each one of these guys got a ditty bag. So they got whichever service that they served under, whether it was Army or Navy or the Air Force. In this particular case, this is the Coast Guard one. And because Guy Harvey is so fond of billfish, we're going to actually give this to one of the guys tonight through a raffle ticket. But guys, more importantly, we appreciate what you guys do for us, and it can't be said enough. Now, cool part about it is we've never had dogs, Lauren, and from what I understand, I don't always have the facts right, but these dogs are service dogs as well. And what's so neat about them is they're trained, if I'm not mistaken, to help the soldiers out in the field. They're a support that the soldiers need, whether it's sniffing out bombs, whether it's there for the soldiers to make sure the soldiers are safe. And I'm not sure about all the facts. And if I get this wrong, guys, my apologies. I'm not an expert on dogs. I'm an expert on fishing. But more importantly, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you being here. And more importantly, we appreciate you guys watching every week, right, Lauren?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Big thanks to everyone in the studio audience and at home. See you next time.
Good job tonight, guys. Thank you so much.